It was a Friday night, the kind where the city lights blend into a canvas of gold and red, their reflections dancing on the wet pavement like liquid fire. We had a reservation at that quiet Italian restaurant she loved so much. Low lighting, crisp white tablecloths. The sort of place where couples go to reconnect, to find a piece of themselves in each other again. She arrived late. Not extraordinarily late, but just enough to give me time to think, to run the rehearsed lines through my head once more. She wore that navy dress, the one I'd complimented her on years ago. I knew it wasn't for me. Her movements told me that, as she walked in, her posture already set like someone who had made a decision long before she stepped through the door. The conversation, the one we were about to have, had already played out in her mind. But still I stood, smiled, kissed her cheek. She flinched just slightly. I already knew. We ordered. She barely glanced at the menu, her eyes empty, distant. Just water. That alone was enough to confirm everything I already knew. Still, I let her speak first, as if I were waiting for something, a sign, a shift in the air. We talked about nothing, about the weather, about a colleague at her job, about some show she pretended to like. But I noticed. She wasn't asking questions back, no curiosity in her voice. Her phone lit up twice, and without hesitation, she tapped the screen gently, not flipping it over like she used to, as if the messages were fragile, too fragile to be seen. And then between the garlic bread and the main course, her posture shifted. She inhaled deeply, sat up straighter, and said the words, the ones I had known were coming but had somehow managed to block out until now. I think we should end things. I'm not happy anymore. There it was. Clean, rehearsed, devoid of any real emotion, like she had practiced it in front of a mirror. My gaze dropped to my plate, but I didn't move. I didn't react. Okay, I said quietly, almost a whisper, and took a sip of wine. She blinked. That wasn't the response she expected. She wanted anger, disbelief, something to make her feel less guilty about what she had already decided. But I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I had spent the last 3 weeks preparing for this moment. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't shocked. I was prepared. You know, I began, setting my glass down slowly. I always wondered why your perfume changed after Thursday nights. Now I know. Her face shifted, just a flicker, enough for me to see it. You don't have to, I said, leaning in slightly, lowering my voice just for her. His name is Patrick, right? Manager at your gym. Drives a black Audi. Stays at that Airbnb on 6th and Marley. You've been going there on spin class nights. Her mouth open, but no words came out. I continued, each sentence falling like a hammer, not with anger, but with clarity. The owner of that Airbnb, I said, my voice steady, calm, is my cousin. She looked like she'd swallowed glass. But I wasn't finished. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out a small envelope, and placed it on the table in front of her, gently, as if it were nothing. This, I said, is a copy of the lease to the apartment you're moving into next month. The one he helped you find. You left the paperwork on your laptop, remember? She just stared at it, and for a moment, her face crumbled, the mask slipping. But I didn't give her the chance to speak. You don't owe me an explanation, I said, leaning back, a small breath escaping my lungs. But I want you to understand something. I never lost you. You lost me somewhere between the late texts, the cold dinners, the silence that stretched out like a canyon between us. You let go of something solid for something cheap. And that, Maya, that's your burden now, not mine. The waiter returned then, filling our glasses, not noticing the storm that raged between us. I nodded politely, as if nothing were amiss, but she couldn't bring herself to look at me. I stood up, dropping a few bills on the table. Enough to cover the meal, the wine, the pain. Oh, I added as I buttoned my coat, one more thing. She looked up, her eyes wide, maybe still expecting some final attempt at holding on. You don't have to worry about Patrick anymore, I said, my words deliberate, quiet. He won't be texting you tonight. A brief pause, and then I added almost casually, I told his wife everything. And with that I left. I didn't look back. That night, for the first time in months, I slept. 3 days passed. She didn't call. She didn't text. But I knew she would. On the 4th day, I received the message, a simple "Can we talk?" I left it unread. That same night, I walked past the gym, not because I wanted to see her, but because I knew she'd be there. She'd be watching the door, checking her phone, pretending not to care. Patrick was gone. I had made sure of that. His wife had shown up at the Airbnb the night I exposed him, keys in hand, rage in her veins. From what I heard, she didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She simply dropped his phone into a glass of sangria and walked out. Sometimes, silence is the loudest sound in the room. I never wanted revenge. I didn't need to hurt her, not really. What I wanted was peace. But peace doesn't come immediately. The hardest part wasn't the confrontation. It wasn't even the betrayal. The hardest part was unlearning the rhythm of someone else's life. The sound of her keys in the lock. The way she hummed off key while folding laundry. How she always left one sock in the dryer. Those were the things I had to unlearn. The stupid little things that no one tells you will break you.